And this is Lori McIntosh with Rustic Ranches Real Estate in Auburn, California, and that's where I am right now with these three awesome people who work at Umpqua Bank. And I want to introduce you to them first. I'm really thankful that you guys are all here to meet with me today. And this is Vicki. She is a relations manager. And this is Frank. He's a loan officer. And this is Donnie. He is a wealth strategist, which I think in my business, all three of you are extremely important. And then when things get kind of tricky and you have challenges with your finances, Donnie seems like the guy to go to. Could I be right?
Yeah, I like to think
Let's
so.
start with you right now.
Sure.
Tell us what makes you unique and why you work for this bank and specialize here in Auburn.
Sure. So where to start? Well, my background is in financial planning and investment management. I've been in the industry for about 15 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with lots of different types of clients throughout the years, from people that are just starting out in their career, looking to buy their first home maybe, to people that are looking to downsize and preparing for retirement and everything in between, business owners, you name it. And so I've had a chance to explore a lot of these different financial scenarios. And as it relates to buying a home, qualifying for a mortgage, and doing all that, I think where I can potentially fit in is lending my perspective from the financial planning side, because sometimes people have to get creative on how they fund a deal. How do they come up with the down payment? Sometimes people mistakenly think that they just have to have it all already in their savings account, and there's actually other sources that they can borrow from. Maybe they can borrow it from their retirement account. Maybe they can borrow it from an insurance policy, for instance. There's lots of different ways around that. And so I'm there to kind of help steer that conversation and just open up some doors that they didn't think were open. What do I love about this area in particular, Placer County? It's just beautiful up here. There's nothing to hate about it, right? You drive up here, it's a gorgeous drive. It's the local town, the local community. It's an amazing feel. In fact, just today I went to this coffee place. What is it, Veneris or Vanelli's? Right off of Maple Street.
Oh, Vanelli's.
Yeah.
It's inside of Sierra Grove.
Yeah, it's such a great place. Oh. It's just a quaint little, it's like, and that's the feel. Yeah.
Not that one. It was in Old Town.
Right off the freeway.
Old Town Grove, not Sierra Grove.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So my point is that kind of place, it's so quaint, and it's just, it's a warm, cozy feeling, and you get that from the entire community up here. So
nice. I like it. So, and another thing that you can offer is someone that can tap into family members and get a gift for paying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. That comes up a lot is, what are the gift tax ramifications? And so I can help people understand that. A lot of times people think that they simply cannot give more than, say, $17,000 a year without triggering a gift tax. And the reality is it's a lot more complicated than that. And there are a lot of times where people can give more than that and not trigger a tax because of this thing called the lifetime applicable credit that the IRS gives you. So unless you make, or unless your net worth is well above this really high threshold, you're still not actually paying a gift tax. You might have to file a gift tax return. The IRS still wants to know about it, but you're not paying an additional tax unless you're well above this amount. So again, that's a great point, is that's another sort of area that I can lend kind of my background and perspective on.
Okay. And since I normally interview you guys one person, I only have one extra microphone. So Donnie, would you mind sharing that microphone?
Sure.
I'm going to give it to Vicki, because Vicki, I feel like you're the person that could lead a client to Donnie. Obviously, you're immediately going to be working with Frank, but you figure out, is he necessary, right, in that case, or when would that happen? And maybe just start with what you have to offer, because it seems like a unique position that you have.
Right. Well, I'm a relationship manager for our private bank, which is, I call it the bank within the bank. And I work with clients who have more complex financial situations, who have a higher level of need from their banker and from their bank. And we work together as a team. So on my team are Frank, our Donnie, we have a trust manager on our team. Really, we have a financial advisor on our team. So we have really every aspect of your financial picture is accessible to my clients through me. And because I'm a relationship manager, I really dig in and get to know my clients and have a strong understanding of the different resources that they might want to access in order to buy a home, or that might be affected by something like a home sale. So a lot of times the first step is with me. A client will come to me and say, I want to do this. I'm not sure how to accomplish that. And depending on the scenario, I will generally immediately loop Frank in, because whenever possible, we want to go through more traditional home lending scenarios. But sometimes it takes a combined effort, and also access to our portfolio lending. So, and Frank has access to that.
Okay. Well, seems like you're next, Frank. Let me just double check this part. A lot of times too, people will be working with Frank directly versus, and then you could come in if there is an issue and say, hey, we need to go a step further, or maybe talk to Donnie. And you obviously work with realtors often, right?
Absolutely. Referrals from realtors, from Umpqua Bank branches, CPAs, many sources. But our internal source is a key contributor. I've been with Umpqua 11 years, 35 years in the business. And Umpqua Bank's a large regional bank, but we act like a small community bank. So we sit down, we talk to our clients, we get to know them on a personal level. Within Umpqua, we all communicate and talk and work together for the benefit of the client. So the client's not waiting 2 days or having to call different units, right? We're taking care of them directly and bringing each other into the conversation. So the client, it's seamless to the client. We want them to feel comfortable and trust everybody within Umpqua. So that's the benefit of working with us, and Umpqua is the communication level that we have with each other and with the client.
Okay. And so, and then I maybe you can just dispel this myth of when you work for a corporation, does that mean that you're not accessible on the weekends? Like, oh, you can only call me from 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday, and that's it.
Yeah, we can dispel that right away. I'm available on weekends. I do pre-quals. I've done pre-quals at my son's baseball game, or a Sunday during a playoff game. Whenever that client needs me, we're available.
Okay, can you do it on your phone? Like send a a pre-approval letter?
I have my laptop. I take
You
everywhere.
take it everywhere.
It's easier. I don't see so well as with my aging. I like my laptop.
That's good to know. Okay, and then tell me a time when, let's say, you needed Donnie to help you in a situation. Can you think of something?
Yeah, just when he walked in the door, I have a client right now that we needed some competitive pricing. And so we're looking for, through our portfolio, if they have a relationship with us, a deposit relationship, we can give them that discount. So I was just having a conversation with Donnie. If he brings over a certain amount, does it need to be, can it be in a 401k? Does it need to be more liquid than that? And so we were brainstorming on the amount and what the borrower could bring over to make it work for the client. You know, the borrower doesn't want to have tax ramifications. So just talking through things like that with Donnie is very helpful for the client.
And if people have questions about capital gains, obviously you can go through that with them. Because I get questions like this all the time, and I say, that is not in my lane. And you need to talk to a finance person, not me, because I'm here to help you in many different ways. Can't do everything. So that's when I start referring them to people like you for those kind of questions.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you live in Placer County, and I know you said regional. Is that Northern California? Does that include the Bay Area?
Umpqua covers from Washington down to Southern California, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada.
So all the West, pretty much.
Pretty much the West. So the West regional, exactly.
Okay, it's pretty big.
Pretty big footprint.
Where would you say most of the clients come from that want to move to Auburn and the surrounding areas, like Roseville, Loomis, Penryn, or even Colfax?
They're coming from the Bay Area. I would say the majority.
Yeah, because I had a few from Las Vegas that want that rural lifestyle that moved to Nevada City, for example, or even Paso Robles. They felt it was getting too crowded, and they had a couple move to Penn Valley. I mean, that's out there. That's very rural, and so very different little towns too, or big towns, I should say. Back to Placer. What do you like about it?
Oh my gosh, the beauty, the location. You're an hour and a half from the Bay Area, the city, or an hour and a half to to Tahoe. So accessible to a lot of activities, from the water to the snow. And then locally, there's so many things to do. They were talking about little coffee shops. About a month ago, we came and Auburn had what was that? The night.
Oh, the country Christmas in Old Town.
Yeah, that was so much fun. And we ate at a local restaurant and walked through the town. It's just a beautiful town. People are really kind. And at the same time, they're very professional. They're good, smart people to work with.
We did miss Napa. That's about an hour and a half away.
Exactly. Yep.
So you have Napa, you have Lake Tahoe, and you have the city, San Francisco Bay Area, all those places you can go. And you can even go to Murphy's, which if you want a smaller little town for wine tasting, maybe not quite as, I should be careful, but not quite as good as Napa. But I will say Placer County wines do an amazing job. We have some really good ones.
We have our own little wine country here.
We sure do.
Yes.
Yeah. And Amador is not too far.
Not too far.
And Plymouth, I guess, at Placerville, go over there. So do you guys, I always say you guys, it's just a habit, but do you collaborate with the other banks that are surrounding the area when people are buying and selling, and just try to keep it in-house, or does it just depend on what happens? Like, let's say a lot of times I can't pick a title rep I want to work with because they've already been chosen by the seller agent, or I'm a seller agent and the client has worked with someone already and they want to keep them.
I definitely know who the other banks are within home lending. Sometimes they're competitor. Sometimes they can do things I can't, or I can't do things that they can't. So we'll collaborate, and it's all for the good of the client. And there's some banks locally that don't even lend. So just knowing who can do what in the area is very important for our customer.
And we were talking earlier too about a luxury client, which I'm making the assumption, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, would that for Auburn specifically be $1 million and up? Because the average home price right now is $615,000. And that includes, we do have some mobile homes around Highway 49, and we have some condos, but most of them are houses in suburban areas and then in the rural areas. I, for example, live in North Auburn, and on 5 acres, I have horses. So that's something that I really gravitate towards because I'm really comfortable with septics and wells and dealing with irrigation, like NID, and which is Nevada Irrigation District, and PCWA, which is Placer County Water District
Agency.
Thanks. I was like, wait a minute, that's not a district. And so that gets a little bit more stressful. And a lot of people also with luxury, since they have a higher mortgage, they also have to factor in California Fair Plan, which is a challenge. And I really like my clients to know upfront that are from out of state or different areas and aren't familiar with wildfire, to know what they're getting into. And as loan officers that deal with this business, how do you deal with that? I kind of like went off on a tangent there, but it's completely different from someone that's buying a house in Roseville.
It really is. I do the same thing as you as far as just trying to educate them early, because it is quite the process to get that approval through. So educating them up front, letting them know that they need to reach out to their agent right away to get that process moving. Very important, because if you have a 30-day escrow, it could take 3 weeks to get fair plan policy.
Yeah, so I always provide 3 insurance agents, and sometimes they overlap with the brokers that they use for insurance, but I like to provide 3, and that way they can pick and choose who they want to work with that are local. And then I just like everything's in 3s, like 3 different home inspectors, 3 different pest inspectors, 3 different roofers, and you choose. But here's my suggestion. That way, if something bad happens, they can't just say, "Well, why did you tell us that, roofer?"
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So, but the California Fair Plan, that's what you get, and you got to use it. So there you go. But did you clarify that about luxury? What did you think about the price range?
That's a great price point, the $1 million. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and I feel like in California, a lot of people watch the news and they see it for the entire United States, and they're like, "Oh, housing's going down." it's not as valuable as it used to. But we are even within the state of California, are in a pocket of being a destination. So people gravitate towards here because it's still more affordable overall, unless you want to move to Modesto or something. And then people just really want that lifestyle of less traffic and less people around them. I have a lot of people that are into privacy and being alone.
It's exceptionally beautiful here. I moved here to Auburn in 2009, and I actually bought my grandparents' home when my grandma couldn't live in it anymore. And so I'm lucky because I was able to get into this market at a time that it was really affordable. And but definitely, what I love about living in Auburn is that they say small towns are like big families. It's like the motto of Loomis, right? And that's exactly how I feel about Auburn. All of my clients are my friends and my family, my neighbors. I can't go check my mail without seeing someone who's also my customer. And that's one of the things that's amazing about living here. But I have seen the prices here steadily rise, and the opportunity. We were at the PCAR meeting last week. There was only one home on tour. I can remember when there used to be, there was never a bazillion, but like there could be like 10 or 12 on tour on a regular basis. And I think we're seeing more and more often the pocket listings, and the homes never really being on the market for very long at all, if they ever even get there, right? Because it's just something, something's coming up.
Well, it is January too, and the inventory is not as high because it's winter. But I feel like a lot of people in this area, they're healthier than your average American, so they have the opportunity to age out in their home versus having to sell and downsize, unless their house is just too much. But some people can manage 5 acres and be in their 80s.
Absolutely.
It's just and climb ladders and take care of their horses and their little donkeys, and they're just trucking around. If you're a farmer or have the attitude of a farmer, you will live longer.
Yes.
But that makes it harder for millennials to move in because the baby boomers won't leave.
Yeah.
But that's me. Like, I have a ranch house with no stairs because I don't want to move again. I'm done. So no one can buy my house for a long time. I feel really bad.
And add to that people have a 3 or 4% rate and don't want to give up their low rates to move up as well.
Yes. So during COVID, when rates went below 3, everyone refinanced. In fact, there's a lot of people right now, right, are refinancing just to get from the 8%, the ones that got stuck last year with the high percentage and getting down to 6.
Starting to see a little bit of that. Yeah. They've dropped a lot in the last 4 to 6 months.
So do you guys have any suggestions for me on how do I convince a buyer that's been looking and saying, I'm waiting until the rates go down to 3 again? I say it's never going to happen. And when it was 5%, I told them that. But I just say, look, tomorrow is too late. I go, today's your best chance to get a home. You can start building up equity in it, and you have the opportunity to refinance down the road, right? Am I saying the right thing?
I think so. I would say that homeownership is one of the easiest and best ways to build wealth, both personally and intergenerationally. Look at how my grandparents' house has served now 4 generations of my family. And I always say, buy as much house as you can afford at whatever the rates are today, right? It's the mortgage interest is the really only interest that's left that you can deduct on your taxes. And yes, as rates go down, you'll have the opportunity to refinance if that's what makes sense for you, and maybe get a lower rate, or maybe get some cash out to do some home improvements, or even maybe to get cash out to buy another home, right? So that you have even more opportunity to build wealth. But my parents, they bought their home. They're still in it. They've paid it off with a VA mortgage at 12%. And my mom was, she's smart, she's savvy. Every opportunity she had to refinance, she did. She took it to 10, she took it to 8, she took it to 6, she took it to 4. And every time she did that, she kept their mortgage payment that they had been paying exactly the same, even though the rate was lower and the term might have changed. And they were able to pay their home off. They live there, without any payment today. And it's been integral to their retirement plan.
That is a great success story. Thanks for sharing that. So that made me think of Donnie and taxes. Can you give me a scenario where you help someone in that situation that obviously, you seem so young to me that you would not have to deal with 12% in your
Thank you.
lifetime.
You get that camera a little closer, you'll see some of my stories starting to develop, but that's all right. I appreciate that.
Here you go.
So, the question is about.
Yeah, just an example of someone that needs to come back to you for help. They
Sure.
got their house and maybe they can't really afford it. And they got to figure something out.
Yeah. Well, here's an example. Well, separate from the affordability, maybe I'll come back to that, but I'll just give you an example on tax issues, for instance. So there was a couple that I was talking with someone about their divorce. They divorced last year and they're selling their property this year. And they had questions about capital gains on the sale of their home. And so there's something called the 121 exclusion. This is the $250,000 of capital gain exclusion that people get. For married couples, it's $500,000. The question was, do we get to claim the full $500,000 even though we're divorced? And the answer is yes. I mean, as long as they both have lived in the house for the previous two out of the last 5 years, they still get that $500,000. So that's just one example of a conversation around taxes. Another example that comes to mind is, when trying to figure out where to come up with a down payment, for instance, right? You've got a lot of different sources, and someone might have an investment portfolio that theoretically could be used for a down payment, but they may not want to actually liquidate it because maybe they've got substantial gains built into the portfolio, right? Maybe they've got a stock portfolio and most of it is capital gains that if they sold, now they've got this huge tax bill, and so they want to avoid that. Well, at the private bank, specifically through Vicki, one of the things that we offer is a line of credit secured by the investments in that portfolio. So that then becomes a source of liquidity for them that they can use as part of that down payment and not have to sell their investments, therefore not triggering the capital gains. That's just another thing. So those are the kinds of things that we talk about tax-wise and otherwise. And I just wanted to go back to the question that you had about, people that want to stay on the sidelines because the rates are too high and this and that. I think Vicki made some excellent points. It's one of the reasons why a home becomes the largest asset for the majority of people, the majority of Americans. Their house is their largest asset. And it's not like rent's cheap, first of all, right? So, I mean, you got to live somewhere. And rent builds no equity, right? At least when you buy a home, you're starting to build equity. And no one would ever encourage anybody to take out a mortgage they can't afford, right? And if you have to take out something like a variable rate mortgage, just make sure you understand the risks involved, right? Working with someone like Frank, who's excellent about educating his clients and making sure that he's doing what's best for them. And that's fine too. But getting into the market, in order to take advantage of building equity is a really positive thing to do. And, Vicki shared an excellent story related to that. But sitting on the sideline, waiting for rates to come down. So even if you could predict interest rates, right? Even if you could predict it with certainty, what does that mean? Rates come down a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, where now it's at this level that you're comfortable with. What have home values done since then? They've probably continued to go higher, right? Yeah. So even if you're right about rates coming down, you still have to be right about the prices not going up. So it's just I personally don't want to be in the game of predicting the future. I don't think too many people are very good at that. So
if I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't have to work here.
Exactly. So all of that is to say, I think what you're telling your clients, it sounds like, is the exact right thing. We would all certainly agree, getting involved, building equity, getting home ownership, and then down the road, guess what? If you have an opportunity to refinance, even better.
Right. There's an old saying, marry your home, date your mortgage.
Oh,
yeah, I like that.
I like that. The other thing I want to say is that most cases, you're using fixed rate mortgages, and so your mortgage payment isn't going to go up even though the value of your house is going up.
Right.
Rents are destined only to go one direction, right? No one's like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and lower your rent this month.
Yeah.
See, the times are tough.
Right.
Not in Auburn, where we have what, a 3% rental vacancy rate. The
Yeah.
weekend that one family moved out and the next family moved in. So
Right. I will say, so in 2008, we lost our house in San Jose, and I lost my job. I was a pharmaceutical rep at the time, and it was pretty challenging and really scary. So we became renters, and we did a short sale. And for 7 years, we lived on 5 acres in Morgan Hill. It was a beautiful house. And we found it on Craigslist. Super amazing. But up against Santa
That is
Cruz
amazing.
Mountains, and 40 acres across the street where I walked my horses across the street. And this family let me take them over there every day. I would go look for them in the afternoon after work and bring them back home. Even though I had a little round pen and big stalls for them to live in at night. My point is that we paid like $2,800 a month to live there in this big, beautiful house for 7 years, and he never raised the rent because we never called the landlord unless it was a serious problem, and we fixed everything, and we were like the perfect renters. And they did not want us to move away. He said he wouldn't raise the rent, but it's just funny because it wasn't because we were getting a good deal. It was because we were losing money because we didn't own a house.
Yep.
And we got over that PTSD serious. I decorated and remodeled our entire house, put in massive landscaping, fencing, fruit trees, everything. And my entire salary gone, poof, like that. But we had to buy a house because of exactly what you just said. That's why. And it didn't matter what the interest rate was.
Mhm.
It was time to go.
Right.
No matter what the landlord said. So I always feel like I'm kind of pressuring people, like, now's the time, so I can make this commission, and that's what they're thinking, but it's not that at all. It's like, we're here to advise you, we're here to help you, and we all have fiduciary duties to help our clients, and we want that referral. We want to have that great reputation. I don't want to burn anybody. And
Right.
I had a lady yesterday. I said, I feel you're hesitant, and I'm not going to put the offer in unless you absolutely want to. So I'm going to give you a couple hours. And then I texted her instead of calling her so she wouldn't feel the extra pressure. And she said, I think you're right. I'm not ready. So there you go. I'm like, I felt so much better. It's like, you could just sense it in some of your people, right?
Absolutely.
Just don't do it if they're not ready. So I was just thinking while you were talking about, here it is. Thank you. Sometimes seniors need to retire and they feel like they can't live in California anymore. So they go to Tennessee, Idaho, North Carolina, Texas, wherever, or out of the country. Do you help them with being able to get their finances together to leave the country, or you just refer them out to someone? Like I'm thinking Portugal, for example, or Ecuador. Like my sister's ex-husband moved to Ecuador at age 75. I think there's a few people like that are just, they think about it at
Yeah.
least. They may not take that extra step because of all the language barriers and whatnot, but does it happen?
There are a lot of expat communities that are very American retirement friendly. And we do have an entire foreign exchange department within our bank, and they're also on my team.
Okay.
And so I often, if I have one vision for myself, it's that I'm your retirement banker, whether that's you're building toward that or you're already enjoying the fruits of your labor. And I'm particularly fascinated with foreign retirement because my husband is very interested he retired in August last year.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
why he's in
you.
film school.
That's why he's in film school. I have to keep him busy because if he was not in film school, he would want us to be living in Bali right now.
Oh, not bad. Not bad location.
Yeah. And so, so I do feel like I have kind of a special knack for that retirement planning from a banking perspective. And yes, I can help people get their finances in order and identify what the requirements of the receiving country are, because many of them do require that you have a certain amount on deposit within their country, and I can help them get that all arranged.
Okay. So, by the way, you guys, I am in Leadership Auburn with Vicki, and we graduate in June, so you can't go to Bali until you graduate at least.
Or at least then.
I know it's only 6 months away. Have you two thought about Leadership Auburn by chance?
I have not.
You haven't.
I haven't. I've heard Vicki talk about it. Sounds like a great organization, so maybe one
Yeah,
day.
you really get to know your community very well. And Vicki and I are in Rotary too together.
Mhm.
So community service space is where it's at.
Service
Yeah.
above
We,
self.
we
Yeah.
encourage you
Yes.
guys to look into that.
Duly
Don't worry,
noted.
it's not a plan of attack or
Yeah.
anything. Back to you, Frank. Here's the microphone. Another question is tell me some things that realtors do that drive you nuts or that you wish that they would improve upon. Just anything.
Frank loves all the agents.
And there's got to be one that just doesn't do something right.
Just the lack of communication, and the borrower's calling me for information that the agent should be, maybe they have a question about some inspection or something that's wrong with the property. Just the education level. That's the biggest thing I run into.
Yeah, communication's huge. I really look at a lender as a teammate, and you don't talk all the time during that escrow. It's just there's so much potential for it to fall out and a disaster to happen.
Absolutely. If there's red flags, they need to be communicated up front, and you can work through it.
Mm-hmm.
I like to hit, I guess, danger head on and deal with any issues up front instead of letting them escalate. I think that's better for everybody to resolve issues up front. I'll take your call if there's something going south. For whatever reason, it has to be communicated right away. And most of the time you can work through it. But if you let it fester, the problem becomes really bigger than what it should be.
Right. I mean, I picked up on that just from being a pharmaceutical rep for 20 years that if there's an issue with the product that I'm selling a doctor and they tell me, I have to call 1-800 number right away to be reported and documented. So not that I love being an independent contractor, not being micromanaged anymore. But I still have that mindset where you got to communicate, you got to take care of things right away, put out the fire, don't let it fester. Yeah, fires are not good. And so, anything else before we start to wrap up that I missed that you could share today?
One misconception about a bank is that we can't do everything that a broker can do. We can do most everything, and because we use our own money, we can actually have products that brokers don't have. So come to us first, and we can take care of whatever needs you may have.
So that's something that is really important for me to know too. And other realtors that I'm sure will be watching this. How about you, Donnie?
Anything to wrap up? Any last comments you're asking for?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think going back to the beginning of this conversation, one of the questions you asked was why we work for Umpqua. And I realized afterwards that I kind of skipped that part because I talked about how beautiful Auburn was and some of the other things. But so I just wanted to address that. One of the reasons I love working at this bank in particular is like Frank said it earlier. We're a regional bank, but we act like a community bank. And what that actually means is that acting like a community bank means we are very focused on the relationships. We're very focused on being a team. You will never come into one of our branches and speak to somebody and ask a question and be told, "Oh, that's not my job," or "Oh, here's some 800 number." That's not how we operate. We know everybody in this bank by the first name. We know each other very well. We work together all the time. Anybody watching this, you don't even have to worry about, "Oh, do I call Donnie? Do I call Vicki? Do I call Frank?" Because there's a good chance that if you call any one of us, you're getting all three of us. We work together as a team, and we really take the team approach to heart. So,
Yeah, you're more effective as a team in numbers too.
yep, definitely.
Just trying to figure it all out on your own. Okay, so I actually didn't get to what you love about Auburn and Placer County. I mean, I know you both said it's beautiful. Plus, we have the Auburn Recreation District with incredible trails. That's why I like it because I have horses and love to ride the trails. If either one of you mountain bike,
My,
Stop and say hello.
my cousin lives in Auburn. He moved here just so he could have the mountain bike access.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
that's why we moved here for the equestrian access.
Yeah.
Auburn has always been my happy place. When I was a little kid, and I had chicken pox, my mom sent me to Auburn to stay with my grandparents.
Aw.
And my grandpa took care of me. When I was in junior high and everything was awkward and emotional and sad, my mom sent me to Auburn to stay with my grandparents. And it's always been my happy place. I love all of the things. I mean, I hate to go down the hill for anything, honestly, because I don't think we ever really need to. Like, we've got great shopping in Old Town and downtown. We have, I'm I spent an entire summer driving from this branch to Rattlesnake Bar and eating dinner on my paddleboard. Like, I love everything we have to do, the trails, the lakes, shopping. We have amazing restaurants here. I grew up in San Francisco. I've had really delicious food, and we have equally delicious food right here in Auburn. So I think we have everything that you need. I raised my kids here, and you'll be hard pressed to ever see me leave. So
Yeah, I would say that Auburn is ready for a Michelin star restaurant because Josephine's booked out 2-3 weeks in advance, and you can even go there. By the way, on Wednesday. No, never mind. I'm not gonna say it. That's
Don't-
my secret.
Don't spill the secret sauce.
Yeah.
You have to pay me tons of money before I tell you the secret. Okay, so anything that you need to wrap up for what you do here and what you have to offer people that you think we might have missed?
I think that what really sets this bank and our team apart is that we truly care, that we really are here to serve and find solutions that make sense. And that could be any number of things. And many times we're not offering a widget, we're offering a whole plan that has nothing to do with a product, but everything to do with a person and their goals.
Nice. I like that. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Go. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was like, okay, I'm done. Again, Lori McIntosh's Rustic Ranches Real Estate. I think you guys should subscribe to my YouTube channel, Living in Auburn. I do like to keep my mistakes that I say. It makes it funny. Bloopers are always good, and I think you guys should subscribe to my channel too.
Will do.
And parkbench.com talks all about Auburn. There's events on there, there's news, and there's coupons. I don't think banks can offer discounts, but you can always go in there and share a blog or a story of what's happening with Umpqua Bank. Okay?
Great.
Sounds good to you?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.